Good to see everyone here today. Oh, we have gone through a week, haven't we, with being iced in, and I appreciate Wade taking that responsibility upon himself, and we know who to blame for that. But I don't know why he wanted a whole week, but you got it, didn't you? You got. Be careful what you ask for. We are in. Oh, hold on just a second. I got it. We're in the book of Matthew, chapter 25. We had finished chapter 24. Matthew, Mark, Luke all talk about Matthew 24 and a time when these things will happen, what's going to happen, when is the end coming. We talked about the destruction of Jerusalem, and we're talking about as we think about the last days, when Jesus comes again, are answered in Matthew chapter 24. These three questions they asked, and they were answered. We know that the first two dealt with the destruction of the temple. The last one dealt with the second coming of Jesus. And Matthew, Mark, and Luke all recorded these. And then as we talk about these, because there were two judgments, one was a local judgment, the destruction of Jerusalem, the destruction of the temple in particular. And then one was a universal judgment, when Jesus is coming again, whenever all mankind shall be judged before that great white throne. And we talked about these, and now we go toward, pointing toward Matthew 25. Matthew 24 ends with this: "Watch therefore, for you do not know what day your Lord comes." Now Matthew records Matthew 25, Mark and Luke do not record the three stories that Jesus told in Matthew 25. It's just Matthew that centers upon this. But Matthew, remember, Matthew is talking about the kingdom. He's talking about the Messiah. He's talking about the Christ. And so Matthew goes on and expands a little bit as Jesus is talking about the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven. What about the kingdom? And so three things we'll learn about the kingdom in Matthew 25. They're not recorded in Mark, not recorded in Luke, just in the book of Matthew. And so when we talk about these, the first one is the parable of the 10 virgins, found in Matthew 25, 1 through 13. When we go through the parable of the 10 virgins, we see 5 are wise, 5 are foolish, that they have their lamps prepared. And that was a common practice, as it was whenever you had a wedding during the time of the life of Christ, particularly with the Jews. The bridegroom would come at some time. The bride didn't know when that time was. The people at the wedding didn't know what time it was. They didn't send out RSVP, "I'll be there at 2 o'clock. The wedding's at 2 o'clock. You reserve this time." It didn't happen like that. It was some time when the bridegroom was ready. When he was ready, he went through the town, the streets. The people would join him at this time, and you would have this parade toward the bride's house, and they would parade toward where the wedding took place. And so as you were ready, you knew it was sometime, but you didn't know exactly when. This happened at night. You had a lamp like this. This was very common. You had the wick at the end, and you had the oil that you would pour into the lamp. And it was carried by every individual person, and they provided their own light. And there's a lot of stories about lamp and light as Jesus talks about the Word of God. But it was just a clay container, and you would pour your oil in there, and then it was made out of pottery there, and it had a wick at the end, and your light burnt there. The story talks about those who are wise, those who are foolish. Those who are wise carried enough oil for a long period of time. Those that were foolish, it's not that they did not have oil, but it's just that they had filled their container but didn't bring any extra oil in case it lasted longer than what they thought it would be. They were prepared for some things, but not prepared for the whole time. And so they were foolish in not being fully prepared. We'll just say with that, being fully prepared. And so it is. Be ready, because you do not know the day or the hour. And that's our time. We don't know when Jesus is coming again. The church described as the bride of Christ, Ephesians chapter 5 or in the book of Revelation. And the bridegroom is coming, but we don't know when the day is. And so as Jesus said, no one knows but the Father. And when that day comes, it will be a judgment day. That we need to be ready whenever that day is. And so be prepared. And so 3 times in the book of Matthew chapter 25, we're told to get ready, be prepared, be ready, get prepared. The day is coming. Well, when is it coming? I don't know when it's coming. It's coming like a thief in the night. We don't know when a thief in the night comes. It's coming suddenly, but it's coming. Get ready. The day is coming. And so when we go through Matthew 25, what about this? What about the story? We have the 5 who were ready for whatever took place. We had 5 ready somewhat. They are not completely foolish that they didn't bring a lamp at all. They brought their lamp, they brought their oil, but not enough for that particular time. So there's some lessons that we can learn today. Get ready, for Jesus is coming again. Now, reading this, here are some lessons learned. Number 1, in waiting is going to take longer than you think it will. For over 2,000 years, Jesus has not come again. I've read some about history and the church and things, and when you would read the book of Revelation, talk about the 1,000-year reign. In the year 1,000, that people really expected Jesus to come again. We've had a 1,000-year reign, and so certainly he's going to come after 1,000 years. Well, he didn't come then. We read in the book of Thessalonians, some 30 years after Jesus had died, that get ready, for Jesus is coming again, and people got ready for it. It seemed like he is coming back at any time. Well, it didn't happen in 30 years. It didn't happen in 1,000 years. It hadn't happened in 2,000 years. I don't know when it's going to be. But he's telling it, get ready, because it may take longer than what you think it will. And so with the parable of the virgins, he said, be prepared, bring everything necessary and more, for we don't know. We don't know. A lot of people are getting ready, and they're kind of getting impatient with God and saying, God, why haven't you come? In fact, doubting whether there will be a second coming or not. It's taken so long. Is Jesus ever going to come again? Will we ever be held accountable? Will there ever be a day of judgment? It may take longer than what we think. In fact, it has. As we talk about, it's going to take longer than what you think it will. But don't give up. Stay prepared. 5 were wise because it took longer than they thought it would, but they were prepared anyway. They brought extra oil. Their light didn't go out. They had gone. It took a long time. In fact, they all went to sleep, it says. All of them went to sleep. All of them brought oil. All of them brought a lamp. All of them went to sleep. All of them were, as we were gathered together there at the same place, same time. But when the bridegroom came, when the call came, 5 were ready, 5 were not. The Christian journey is not a sprint. It's a race. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. When you first become a Christian and you're so excited about living the Christian life and you're ready to tell everyone and you're ready to change your life and make these decisions and you're so excited about being a Christian, you know the Philippian jailer, whenever it was that Philip went to the chariot and he went to the Ethiopian eunuch. And the eunuch said, here's water, why can't I be baptized? And he was baptized. And it says the eunuch went on his way rejoicing. He was so excited about it. Do you remember that time? And now years have passed. And what about your excitement? And what about your enthusiasm? And what about your commitment? Keep on keeping on. It may take longer than you think. Keep on. And so it's going to take longer than you think. There's one lesson learned. And there's another, it's going to cost more than you thought. Because some came prepared and they had a certain amount of oil. And that's all the expense that they had. But others, whether they were going to use the oil or not, they brought it. It's going to cost more than what you think. Oh, now what about living the Christian life? You're going to live your Christian life, and you're going to spend this time, and you're going to live your whole life, maybe my whole life. Maybe it'll be that I pass away before Jesus comes again. I don't know. But maybe I'll live my whole life expecting, waiting, watching. And my whole life. What's the cost? What are you willing to pay? Have you ever thought, well, I've paid enough. I've spent a lot. I spent a lot of money on living the Christian life. And I think I've paid enough. Or I spent a lot of time living the Christian life. And I think I've paid enough time. I've used my talents in living the Christian life, and I've taught Bible class, and I've taught others, and I've been a shining example, and I think I've just paid enough. It's time for me to retire as a Christian. Oh, we never stop counting the cost. Never. Whatever it costs. Time, talent, resources. And we'll learn some more about this later on as he talks about these. It's worth the price. But it may cost more than what you thought. They brought oil. Some didn't bring extra oil, whether they weren't thinking about, well, I don't want to spend that much in case we don't have to have it or whatever. But they didn't spend the extra to bring extra oil. It's going to cost more than you thought. It's not going to look like what you thought it would. You know, when we talk about the kingdom and the Christ, there are Jews that had a certain mindset. Whenever Jesus comes again, he's going to come. He's going to set up a physical kingdom. He's going to sit on the throne of David. He's going to be part of and rule over this land like David ruled. And we shall be an independent nation just like we were. And so whenever they think about this kingdom of God, it's not what they thought it would be. And there are still people looking for that. They're looking for a day when Jesus will come back, sit on the physical throne there in Jerusalem, set up a physical kingdom for 1,000 years or whatever it is. And they'll say, then is the kingdom. And they're not looking for a spiritual kingdom. The Jews were not looking for a spiritual kingdom then, and people are not looking for a spiritual kingdom now. The kingdom that Matthew's talking about is not like the kingdom they thought it would be. It's a spiritual kingdom. We are a part of that kingdom. Colossians chapter 1, verse 13. Citizens of that kingdom. The church, the kingdom, the church. Matthew 16 and 18, he used those words interchangeably of kingdom and church. Jesus is king. He's my king now. I am a citizen of his kingdom now. I'm not looking for someday, somehow, some way, physically setting up a physical kingdom. He set up his spiritual kingdom, the church. He is reigning over us as citizens of that kingdom. We are a part of that. It doesn't look like what some people thought it would be. The church is so hard to comprehend. It would be so much easier to comprehend if it was something physical that we could see, a limited amount of territory. This is our kingdom, and this is the edge of the kingdom. These are the citizens of the kingdom. We don't see the spiritual. We see the physical. But he set up a spiritual kingdom where he is king right now. Some other lessons learned. In running the race, take time to rest. You see, they were waiting. They were waiting for the bridegroom to come, and they went to sleep. Well, that's not all bad. Sometimes we need to take time to rest as we wait. Right? Take some time. Take some time it is. We call it when the teenagers go on a retreat. We say they're going to take some time. They're going to take a weekend off, and they're just going to focus on things of the kingdom. They're going to focus on their life. They're going to focus upon living the Christian life, their commitment toward it, and just take a little time for a retreat. Certain times it is. We have a weekend retreat coming up at Mount Vernon. If you get a chance, go to that. To refresh yourselves, renew yourselves. It's time, take some time off. Reflection, relaxation, maybe sleeping. It's not all, you're not always the watchman. The watchman's important, but they have shifts when they watch and when they don't. In running the race, take time to rest. Take time for yourself to realize, reflect on where you are, why you are where you are, what time in your life this is. Things are different for me now that I'm a lot older than when I was a teenager. Different part of my life. They went to sleep, and that's all right. They didn't stay asleep. But when they got refreshed from their sleep, they were ready to participate in the wedding. Take some time off. It's all right. Rest in our time of work. We are laborers in the vineyard. We are watchful, ever watchful. But it's all right. They were not condemned for sleeping. They were not called foolish for sleeping. That's just their daily life. You work, you rest. You work, you rest. You have that in our Christian life also. I think another lesson that we can learn with this, there's some things we can't give to others. Now I put this because it was that the 5 whose oil had run out, they said to those who brought extra oil, hey, give us some of your oil that we can have light too. And the ones that had oil, they had extra oil, but they only had oil for themselves. There's some things you cannot pass on to others. There's some things you can. There's some ways you can help. We're told to be benevolent. We're told to be givers. But some things you cannot give. For instance, your faith. I remember a time in my life, it was, in particular when I went to college. And someone challenged me, and he said, I was talking to others about being a Christian and Church of Christ and such. He said, you're just Church of Christ because your parents were Church of Christ. And I kind of said, well, I don't think that's right. But then I thought about it, and I think that was right. That's the way I was brought up. And so I started searching myself. And it became my faith, not Mama and Daddy's. You know where I'm going? There's something they couldn't pass on their faithfulness to me. I had to make a decision. Will I remain faithful? Will I be the Christian that I need to be because Mama and Daddy can't do it for me? Oh, they brought me to church. They taught me. They showed me by example. But my faith had to come from me, not them. Paul even wished that he would be lost if all Israel be saved. Well, you can't do that. You can't be saved for someone else. You can't pass on your faith to someone else. You cannot be saved for someone else. I want my daughters to be saved. I want my grandchildren to be saved. But I can't do it for them. That's got to be their decision. There's some things we cannot give to others. Our faith, our salvation, this great hope that we have. You can encourage it. Maybe it was that they were there and those with oil said to those without oil, I'm just inserting this. Maybe this happened. Maybe you need to go to the market right now and get some more oil. We brought some. We don't know. I don't know if that conversation took place. But it came to a point those with oil could not give it to those without oil. There's going to come a time in our life where we stand alone on what we brought or how we prepared. It's my preparation, not someone else's. Some can encourage us, be examples for us, but we have to be prepared ourselves. There are some things you cannot give to others. We must live by His timing, not our timing. Certainly those that brought the lamps and the lights who were saying, I have enough if He comes during this time. If He comes at a reasonable time, I am prepared. They had their lamp, they had their oil, their light was burning, and if the bridegroom had come in a certain amount of time, they would have been prepared as much prepared as anyone else. But God's timing is not always our timing. And sometimes it is that we need to live on His time, whatever the time it is. We don't know when. We don't know. We don't know when He's coming again. Are you ready? Are you watching? Are you prepared? Have you lived your life that if at any time it is, any time, are you ready? There's so many things to think about with this. So many times of reflection and thinking about God's timing and not our timing, and sometimes it is that we live on the mountaintop and we're ready. We're in close communion with God. And if God were to come, I tell you, I'd be one of the first to go because He and I are just like that. Right now, everything's great. I'm in communion with God. I'm in fellowship with God. But other times we feel like we're in the depths of the valley. Maybe you have felt that God has even forsaken you and felt that others have forsaken you, and you're so discouraged in living the Christian life. You're wondering, does anyone care? And whether it is we're on the mountaintop or whether we're in the valley, we must be ready. God's timing is not our timing. We may wait and say, well, listen, God, don't come right now. I'm kind of in the valley right now, and I'm kind of not in good fellowship with you now right now. Don't come right now. Wait till I get back to the mountaintop. God's timing is not our timing, or our timing is not God's timing. They didn't know when the bridegroom would come. Always be ready. Be ready, therefore. He's going to tell us 2 more times to be ready. Matthew chapter 25. Be ready, be ready, be ready. Be watchful. Be prepared. We do not know the day or the hour. We don't know when it is, but we do know there's a day coming. There's a time coming. There's an hour coming. The bridegroom will come. He'll invite us to the wedding feast, as is recorded and talked about as that judgment day, a great day of going to heaven, or a sad day of going to hell. I want to go to heaven. Be ready. Have everything possible ready for when the bridegroom comes. Are you ready? If not, why not? Is there anything we can pray with you for you? Maybe you're not a Christian, you wish to respond. Why not respond to the gospel right now while we stand and while we sing?